The story of Kennedy and Trump has changed the course of history forever. August 23rd, 2024 will forever be known as the day we turned the corner and took back our great nation and changed the course of history and brought hope to a free world. Join me as we relive the strange relationship between Kennedy and Trump leading to their return to the White House to make America healthy and great again. I spent 2 years following the Kennedy and Trump campaigns. Long before the two men ever considered running for president, Kennedy sued Trump and stopped him from building a golf course near the Hudson River. After Trump won the presidency in 2016, he recruited Kennedy to look into vaccine safety issues. Kennedy was forced out the door after clashing with a man by the name of Anthony Fauci. But the assassination attempt on President Trump's life brought Kennedy and Trump closer than ever. From rivals to collaborators, from foes to friends, this is the story of Kennedy and Trump. You can download the book for free right now by going to kennedy&trump.com. That's kennedy&trump.com. My name is Greg Fernandez Jr. God bless you all. Okay, we're now in episode 5. We're going to continue reading on in the book Kennedy and Trump, looking for errors, looking for typos, looking for bad grammar, whatever it is. We're going to keep on looking, folks. So here we are. We are now officially on page 43 of the book, or page 51 of the PDF. Okay, reading on. Trump also commented on the relationship between Kennedy and his family. Trump said Kennedy's family is angry at him because he's running for president. They won't talk to him, said Trump. That statement is absolutely not true, according to Kennedy. One of Kennedy's siblings, Carrie Kennedy, recently went on Good Morning America and said, "Our family, we love Bobby and we like him." When a bunch of Kennedy family members visited Joe Biden at the White House in mid-2024, according to Kennedy, several of his family members used their time with Joe Biden to ask him to provide me Secret Service protection. So I'm happy with that. I think that maybe he'll reconsider his decision. Kennedy's prediction turned out to be right, but only after President Trump was almost assassinated. Kennedy also said he sees his family members regularly at family gatherings without any issues. Even for those Kennedy clan members who may have spoken negatively about Kennedy, he does not have any resentment towards them. Resentments are like swallowing poison and hoping someone else will die, said Kennedy. I don't do that. I love my family. We come from a milieu where we were encouraged to debate with each other, to differ with each other, to debate with passion, with good information, but also, at the end of the debate, to love each other. And I wish my country could do that same thing. The media loves to focus on Kennedy family members who have spoken out against him. In my opinion, those family members have not honored the work of President Kennedy and Senator Robert F. Kennedy Sr. When I think of the Kennedy name, I think about JFK, RFK, JFK Jr., and RFK Jr. Those four men seem closely aligned in values. I expected the media to focus on Kennedy clan members attacking RFK Jr., but I did not expect President Trump to fall into the same trap. After all, President Trump has his own detractors within his family. In both cases, I'm not sure Kennedy and Trump supporters care there are family members who disagree with them. Family disagreements should not discount all the good things Kennedy and Trump have done for our great nation. My family members are supporting me very strongly, Kennedy continued. I went skiing with many of my siblings who are opposing me over Christmas. We ate together. I'm not walking around with anger or resentments towards anyone. A lot of them just differ with me on issues. They differ with me on the war, on Ukraine, on censorship, the appropriateness of censorship, but also on our assessment of President Biden. Trump seemed to be reading off a bad script as he continued to tell the NRA crowd why they shouldn't vote for Kennedy. While Trump believed Kennedy was hurting Biden more, he recognized Kennedy could hurt his chances to return to the White House in 2025. We can't waste any votes, said Trump. We have to make sure we win. Trump also spoke about his upcoming speech at the Libertarian Party National Convention, where Kennedy would give a speech the day before him. I'm meeting next week very soon with the Libertarians because largely they have so much of what we have, said Trump. You know, they're also people of common sense, generally speaking. Trump recognized there are some differences with the Libertarian Party and how important it is to get the 3% of votes Libertarians receive. They have a couple of things that are a little different, but we have to join with them because they get their 3% every year, no matter who's running. And we have to get that 3% because we can't take a chance on Joe Biden winning. He's the worst president in the history of our country by far. Trump moved into political mode and pandered to the NRA crowd, claiming Kennedy's views, oh, there's another one. Okay, let me mark this. Forgot the apostrophe S. Yes, a few little notes here. All right, so this is page 52 of the PDF, but this is actually page 44. Okay, so page 44, add apostrophe to Kennedy. I'm just going to make a note about NRA. All right. Here we go. Keep finding them. Keep doing it. Okay, so where was I? Oh, yeah, here we go. Oh, wait, actually, no, there's not supposed to be an apostrophe. Maybe I should have read the whole sentence. This is actually right. Trump moved into political mode and pandered to the NRA crowd, claiming Kennedy views the NRA as a terrorist group. Kennedy denied those allegations. RFK Jr. says bad things, Trump told the NRA crowd. He calls you a terrorist group, and I call you the backbone of America. That's a big difference, wouldn't you say? In reality, I don't think there's a big difference between Kennedy and Trump when it comes to gun rights. Gotta close this here. Okay, hopefully that blocks out some of the background noise. In reality, I don't think there's a big difference between Kennedy and Trump when it comes to gun rights. Kennedy clearly stated, I'm not going to take anybody's guns away. If anyone would be blinded by gun violence, it should be Kennedy. Thankfully, RFK Jr. doesn't generalize gun violence for political gain. My father was killed by guns, said Kennedy. My uncle was killed by guns. I understand how generationally that gun violence can harm societies or communities. And I also understand there's more to this country and it's intolerable. School shootings are unacceptable. Mass shootings are unacceptable. We're having them every 21 hours, and that is unacceptable. Kennedy asked the real question that needs to be answered about these shootings. Is it because of the proliferation of the guns? The evidence indicates otherwise. And let me explain this. The proportion of guns per home in this country has increased by a little less than 1% since 1970. And yet the mass shootings have started since, and now they're everywhere. According to Kennedy, the issue with gun violence can't be just because of the guns. It has to be something else. I've made the suggestion that we begin studying the other possible covariables. This is what NIH should be doing. Is it our video games contributing to that? Our social media, the isolation, the alienation? Could it have something to do with SSRIs? As we near towards the first 2024 presidential debate, Elon Musk shared his hopes that Kennedy would be part of the historic event on June 27th. After reading Musk's post, Kennedy asked him, "Will you host one?" "Sure," Musk answered. 2 days later, on May 22nd, 2024, Kennedy posted, "X is where the debate should be. X is where the debate should be. The new public square with 100 times the audience of CNN. Real Donald Trump, I know you've got the guts to do it. Do you want to call POTUS or should I?" Elon Musk then commented, "True," and Lex Friedman wrote, "I'm happy to moderate." On May 25, 2024, President Trump posted a video on Truth Social with a brief comment about Kennedy. "Don't waste any Republican or conservative votes on Junior," wrote Trump. "He's one of the most liberal lunatics ever to run for office. He caused massive high energy pricing in New York and New England. He just admitted that he was actually okay with the vaccine. A phony radical left fool whose poll numbers are terrible and getting worse. His campaign is falling apart. Great dissension." Okay, this is page 45 because I can see that I forgot to put. So page 44 is okay, but page 45, I forgot a quotation right there before. He's one of the most liberal lunatics. Crazy. All right. The video associated with Trump's post in an interview with Trump campaign surrogate. The video associated with Trump's post in an I can't even say it. The video associated with Trump's post is an interview with campaign surrogate Steve Miller. That sounds weird. Video sessions. It's from. Maybe it should be. It's from an interview. Ad is from an interview. Yeah, it's a kind of a tongue twister. Steve Miller. Fox News business host Larry Kudlow, who served as the director of the National Economic Council under President Trump, allowed Miller to share his views on RFK Jr., but did make sure to note that he liked and respected Kennedy. Then came the attacks by the Steve Miller Band. "RFK Jr. is a climate extremist, has been for many years," said Miller. "His climate extremism is well documented and well known. He would shut down all fossil fuels, he would abolish drilling, and he would put significant taxes on carbon emissions that would crush the economy." Nevertheless, Steve Miller recognized RFK Jr. as a serious presidential candidate. "He's a serious candidate of the left," Miller clarified. "The American voters will go to the polls and they will be able to choose from two liberal Democrat politicians, RFK and Biden. Some Democrat voters might like RFK's climate extremism and vote for him." Capitalize Democrat. It's a little weird when trying to think, when do you capitalize Democrat and when do you not? So I think this is okay. I think it's okay to keep that lowercase. And I think this is okay too, but just I might double check on that. Of course, Miller doesn't provide specific examples of Kennedy's climate extremism, which is par for the course. This could be due to time constraints, as the entire interview is only about 5 minutes long, but it's a bold statement to make against a lifelong environmentalist, an environmental lawyer like Kennedy. For anyone who cares about our environment, please consider Kennedy's contributions as a real environmentalist. Back in 1997, Kennedy co-authored a book titled The River Keepers: Two Activists Fight to Reclaim Our Environment as a Basic Human Right. The book documents the journey of John Cronin, a former commercial fisherman who was appointed Hudson River Keeper of 1983, and Robert F. Kennedy Jr., the chief prosecuting attorney for the Hudson River Keeper, Inc., and senior attorney for the Natural Resources Defense Council. Kennedy understands how environmentalism can be used for exploitation. As a lawyer, Kennedy has used litigation to make real change. The Riverkeepers book is just a small part of what Kennedy has done to protect our environment on a local level, specifically with the Hudson River. What Kennedy did in that situation can be used as a blueprint to do the same across our great nation. Here's an excerpt. Here's an excerpt from the preface of The Riverkeepers, where the focus was on the life of our economy, something we need to live: water. If you are concerned about the water that your family drinks, or whether your children can swim and fish where you once did, or what may be buried in your local landfill, you are like tens of millions. You are like tens of millions. Oh, that should be of thousands. Tens of millions. Oh, no, that's right. You are like tens of millions in thousands of communities who have the same concerns. The front line in the battle to save the American environment is occupied by ordinary people taking on extraordinary odds to defend those communities. Our community is New York's Hudson River Valley. Its story is like the story of waterways all across America, where local people become sick and tired of the condition of their local environment. The point is, Kennedy is a real environmentalist, not a fake one. If a guy like Steve Miller can get that wrong about Kennedy, it's no surprise he would spout other false claims about the independent presidential candidate. RFK has been very extreme on the Second Amendment, said Miller, in favor of gun confiscation. He's been very extreme in favor of social economics and tax and regulatory policies. Miller also claimed that Kennedy had very strong sympathy for the Palestinians that support Hamas. To suggest Kennedy is pro-Hamas in any way is propaganda. Okay, I'm going to stop right there. I think that's a pretty good place to stop. Until next time, I want to say God bless you all. Remember, Jesus Christ loves you, and so do I. Thank you for joining me as we go through a few more of these edits. We're so close here now. God bless you all. Until next time. The Gray Stage by Greg Fernandez Jr., Mind by Soul Productions, 2020. United States Army veteran and Minnesota filmmaker David Crowley was accused of murdering his wife and daughter before taking his own life in December of 2014. The Apple Valley Police Department suspects the bodies were inside the Minnesota home for 3 weeks after they were found by neighbors on January 17, 2015. Within 24 hours of finding the bodies, authorities assumed this was a double murder-suicide. The culprit was deceased, and the public was not in any danger. On the day the bodies were found, authorities did not see a bullet hole in the living room ceiling or a bullet in the living room carpet. These were two of the most important items in this case, as they were tied to David Crowley and his daughter. It was only after investigators were told of their existence that they returned to the crime scene on 2 separate occasions and retrieved the 2 spent rounds. What did authorities find in the Crowley house that proved David Crowley murdered his wife and daughter and then killed himself? Without a motive, and with the absence of guilt, the case was closed with the status of exceptionally cleared. If David is truly guilty of this crime, then authorities should be forced to prove their theory. The Gray Stage exists solely because of the official conclusion as stated on page 92 of the Apple Valley Police Reports PDF. With the conclusion of the review of digital devices, Detective Brian Bone reported on October 7, 2015, there is no other information available for further investigation. Throughout this investigation, the AVPD has not discovered any information or evidence that shows anybody but David Crowley is the perpetrator of these crimes, including the killing of his wife, child, and himself. This book, The Gray Stage, is a direct response to the allegations against David Crowley. Due to the lack of evidence against David, I felt it necessary to write this book. One of the reasons I decided to write The Gray Stage was to help convince the Apple Valley Police Department to reopen case number 1500303. Either the Apple Valley Police Department should be forced to prove David Crowley guilty, or they should admit the case is unsolved. Because the official investigation failed to prove David Crowley guilty, I can only assume he is not. What other conclusion could I possibly reach under the current circumstances? Within 24 hours of finding the bodies of David, Kamel, and Rania Crowley, the Apple Valley Police Department were treating the incident as a double murder-suicide. Authorities cannot prove David wrote Allahu Akbar in his wife's blood on the living room wall. Authorities cannot prove David wrote I have loved you all with all of my heart on a laptop in the kitchen. Authorities cannot prove David wrote Open the Rise most recent version Submit to Allah Now on a notepad in his office bedroom. Authorities cannot prove the dog trapped inside the house ate David's right hand, both of Kamel's hands, and their daughter's arm, since dog feces tests were never done. Authorities cannot prove the dog trapped inside the house ate David's right hand, both of Kamel's hands, and their daughter's right arm, since dog feces tests were never conducted. Authorities did not see the bullet hole in the living room ceiling or the bullet in the attic above until they questioned David's friend a month after the bodies were found. Authorities did not find a motive to support their accusations against David Crowley. Authorities did not find David's blood on any of the bullets at the crime scene. Authorities do not know when David, Kamel, and Rania died. What we know for sure is that David Crowley has not been proven guilty.
Okay, next question.
All right, the next question is from Greg, and he's asking if you will pray for him. He says he wants to be a stronger Christian, a better father, and a loyal husband. And then he goes on to say how much he enjoys the show and is inspired by the content.
Greg, thank you so much for asking me to pray for you. I consider that an honor. God tells us to pray for one another and to carry one another's burdens. And the fact that you have a burden to be a better Christian, a more loyal husband, a better dad for your kids, that's awesome. So yes, I will pray for you that God will give you a deep heart of love for God, love for your wife, and a devotion and loyalty to raising your kids in the way they should go.
A simple truth. It really is this simple. Either you believe David Crowley is innocent or you believe he is guilty. If you believe David Crowley is guilty, you are wrong. If you believe David Crowley is innocent, you are right. It really is that simple. A United States Army veteran is dead. His wife and his 5-year-old daughter are dead. A thorough investigation would only conclude with authorities admitting they lacked evidence to support their accusations. If authorities were to admit the case remains unsolved, they would also have to admit that the public may still be in danger. I am not able to solve this case. My interest is in forcing authorities to admit David Crowley is innocent. The reason they refuse to talk about this case is not because they are confident of David's guilt. They lack confidence in their allegations. Their department wishes to move on, but they are only lying to themselves. They must know the simple truth, and they need to publicly admit this. Their credibility depends on it now. The unspoken truth is that David is innocent until proven guilty. Why are authorities running from this simple truth? How long do they think they can run for? You cannot run from God. You cannot run from your nightmares, and you cannot run from the facts. Why would anyone want to? What could possibly motivate someone to try? If you cannot prove David Crowley guilty, then he remains innocent. It's as simple as that. So the resistance we face is disgusting. If David was guilty, the evidence would be right in our faces. If David was guilty, resistance to our questions would not exist. If David was guilty, facts would be evident. There are no facts to prove David guilty. There are only facts which prove David innocent. Hence the resistance to getting justice for David Crowley and family. Who cares? Do the people who closed this case and decided to not speak about it ever again really care? Do the friends who accused David Crowley of being guilty days after his body was found really care? Perhaps they only care about spreading the accusations of David's guilt instead of researching the facts of this case. They don't seem to care about the facts which prove David innocent. Truth is a simple thing. Justice does not die. Facts prove David is innocent.